Well, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen. Many thought we would never see the day, but it looks like Wargaming is actually listening to the player base for once with regards to, well, aircraft carriers and subs. Two classes that are probably some of the most controversial and divisive, I should say, amongst the player base, and two classes that for sure cause the most grief amongst the players. So what happened is that yesterday we were told that Wargaming was going to go live today with a special stream addressing some upcoming changes to CVs and subs. And they didn't say how big these changes were, so some players thought they were going to be relatively small changes, some players thought they were going to announce the introduction of CVs and subs into clan battles, but thankfully both were wrong, and on this live stream we were told of some major changes coming to both of these classes. So what are these changes? Well, I'm glad you asked. A real brief summary here at the start. They address some of the more frustrating things in both classes, like plane spotting for CVs and shotgunning for submarines, amongst other things. So they released an article, not a dev blog, oddly enough. It's a whole article on their website. This is a first. So I'll link to this in the description down below if you want to read along as I read aloud. We're going to go through the changes to each class, and then I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on that class's change at the end of, well, that class's section. So if you want to see just the CV changes or just the submarine changes, check out the timeline down below. So let's go ahead and get on into it. So the article is titled Upcoming Changes to Aircraft Carriers and Subs. Do note that here at the start they do clarify that these are just some proposed changes, so it's in testing, right? These aren't guaranteed to come to the game, but this is generally what they're looking at doing in order to help alleviate some of the problems with these two classes. Alright, so let's get to it. Captains, we hope that you are enjoying our New Year's update. As we're wrapping up the year 2023, we want to give you a glimpse of some exciting changes that aim to address some significant aircraft carrier and submarine pain points you provided feedback on. Yeah. And then they note again that it's just all in testing. Alright, so they start with CVs. We've been hard at work to find a solution for the following problems. 1. Aircraft carrier plane spotting has too much impact. 2. Anti-aircraft mechanics and consumables don't feel impactful enough. 3. Rebalancing spotting and anti-aircraft mechanics while ensuring that aircraft carriers remain viable in battle. We've tested many different approaches in the past to deal with these problems, and while some came close to meeting our requirements, they ultimately fell short of our expectations. However, we learned many lessons, and many of the previously tested concepts contributed to our current prototype, which is something that we confidently feel will address these problems and lead to big improvements in the overall game experience. So the first section is our new prototype. The core aspect of our prototype is that aircraft carrier planes will have two different modes, travel mode and attack mode. The differences between the two modes are outlined below. So travel mode. We don't want aircraft carrier planes to spot enemy ships while traveling, only when they're attacking. This will reduce the majority of random spotting that aircraft carriers provide while scouting for targets to strike. Planes will be able to travel at maximum speed in this mode. While traveling, the aircraft carrier will only have the information provided by the spotting of allied ships. Surface ships will be able to spot enemy aircraft carriers' planes during this period if in range, but their AA guns will not be able to engage them. However, the DFAA and fighter consumables can be used against planes in the traveling phase. Additionally, we are working on adding a new consumable for aircraft carriers which will work in a similar way as hydrophone, but with limitations. The consumable will only provide brief information on enemy ship positioning without the ability to track targets over a period of time. Interesting. While attacking, when launching an attack, the planes will be able to spot enemy ships. At the same time, the AA from surface ships will be able to fire at the planes. In case the aircraft carrier keeps attacking the same ship repeatedly, the ship's AA strength will get significantly stronger for a period of time, making it counterproductive for aircraft carriers to keep focusing on the same target. We also want to provide a new counterplay mechanic for surface ships that amount to blinding the carrier. surface ships will be able to restrict the spotting ability of an aircraft carrier for a period of time, resulting in the inability to see and strike ships, effectively that would otherwise not be spotted by allies. This mechanic will, however, not be effective against proxy spotting. Additionally, this prototype allows us to experiment with the concept of adding another layer of depth in gameplay and control for aircraft carriers, taking manual control of some of their guns, similar to the main battery guns on surface ships. We're not controlling a squadron. These will be the largest caliber secondary guns available on the carrier. This should provide a new way to deal with close range targets. Graf Zeppelin, my god, be still my beating heart. Thus, the new mechanics described above will allow us to achieve the following results. Aircraft carrier spotting capabilities will decrease, surface ships will have new tools for active counterplay against aircraft, constant attacks against the same target will become less effective, and the value of AA consumables will increase. On the other hand, aircraft carriers will be able to reach their targets faster and launch more attacks, as well as being able to control their ship's guns, which together will expand their gameplay capabilities and maintain their combat effectiveness. Our main goal is to improve the interaction between surface ships and aircraft carriers as a whole. We don't want to reduce the overall damage capabilities of either side. Therefore, along with the introduction of new mechanics, we will be making balanced changes to all surface ships and aircraft carriers in the game to preserve their core gameplay features, while preventing them from being over or underperforming in battle. Due to the scale of this change, we expect to have to make additional balancing changes in the future, both for aircraft carriers and AA. Since this prototype is in active development, we can't share more details at this point, but we expect to be able to provide you with an update by the end of February. So, February coming up, 2024. Who's ready for the CV rework 2.0? But it sounds fairly promising. So I've heard of some of these features before. If you were, back in the day, the whole traveling and attack mode, like there's two different levels that the planes fly at. I remember reading something about that some time ago, so that's coming back. So what do I think about that? I think that's pretty solid. Obviously, if your planes are flying up high enough, it's going to be hard to spot ships. But ships obviously will probably be able to spot you because lookouts and such. But you got one guy in a plane flying at, 10, 15, 20,000 feet. Yeah, obviously that's a little difficult to spot ships from that high up. And I think it's fair that you can't shoot them with the AA if they can't spot you and they can't do anything to you. Fair enough. So, okay. I think that's fine. And that if you want to do anything to them, you gotta use DFAA or have your your fighter go after them. So I think that's a fair trade off there. And I think, again, that will really cut back on a lot of just the random spotting. There's so many times when I'm playing a CV and I'm going to a spot where I think there might be a ship and I just bump into, whatever ship just so happens to be chilling down there, and then, I've spotted their DD for him, right? So what I do want to know between this attack mode and this travel mode, is there a distinct difference? And is travel mode, obviously there's a distinct difference. Can you stay in either mode, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If I just want to stay in travel mode, it sounds like you can stay in travel mode. But attack mode, is that what we have now, where the planes fly at their lower height and you can see everything, but now you can be shot at by AA? I think it's nice that the AA effectiveness will increase if you keep attacking the same ship. So a clarification I would like on that too is that it says in the case the aircraft carrier keeps attacking the same ship repeatedly. Okay, repeatedly. Does that mean with the same flight? Like I use the, 3 squadrons of my Malta's aircraft to keep kicking the same ship in that run? Does that increase the effectiveness of the AA on the ship? Or if I keep sending flights after flights after flights after flights to them, does that increase the AA effectiveness? That's something that I would like clarification of. And then how much stronger will it get to? I know this is all kind of in the conceptual stage, so they don't have hard numbers just yet. But those are some of the things that I would very much like to know. So blinding the carrier would restrict the spotting ability of the aircraft carrier for a period of time. how does that work? Obviously, I would like to know how that works, and is that because like all the flak that's going up is it blinding the pilots or whatever? So I think CV's great step forward for trying to deal with the constant spotting of the carriers and the annoyance of being that one ship that gets picked on by the carrier the entire game. So I think excellent steps forward for the CVs. However, this is once again proving that Wargaming will do anything but go to 2D minimap spotting. That they will make this super complicated system rather than just going to 2D minimap spotting. Again, anything but that, right? So, big ups on the CV side of things. So now let's check out the submarine side of things. So, Submarine Changes, they say, in parallel with addressing the aircraft carrier issues, we've been working on submarine changes for quite some time now. We'll implement these changes gradually over the course of a few upcoming updates. You can expect to see the first major changes with updates 13.1 and 13.2. The upcoming changes are aimed to address the following problems. The situation where current mechanics allows submarines to perform successful shotgunning of enemy ships. Shotgunning is when a submarine surfaces in close range to enemy surface ships and launches a devastating salvo of torpedoes that are very difficult to evade. Lack of consistent and understandable interaction between submarines and surface ships, and in particular, lack of additional ways for both sides to counter each other. At the same time, we want to maintain the current level of combat effectiveness of submarines in battle, which we plan to achieve through a series of balancing changes, as well as updating commander skills, upgrades, and signals. Alright, so they're going to try and address shotgunning. Let's see what they say. Upcoming changes in Update 13.1, so this is next update. Italian and German tech tree branches, the Venezia and the Hindenburg lines, as well as several premium heavy cruisers will receive plane-based ASW equipment. So we're getting the ASW planes on some of the heavy cruisers that don't have it. This means that all heavy cruisers except Dutch cruisers who have their own HE bombs will have plane-based ASW. Big ups. Additionally, we plan to add depth charges on destroyers Leonie and Ochotnik, a few updates after 13.1. We're planning to improve the ASW armament of mid-tier ships, improving their effectiveness against Tier 6 to Tier 8 subs. We will share detailed information on these changes in an upcoming dev blog. Some cruiser branches will receive the Submarine Surveillance consumable. We're planning to add this to the upcoming Commonwealth cruiser line, makes perfect sense, as well as Italian and Japanese branches, so the Venezia, the Zao, and the Yodo branches. Okay. This will provide these cruisers with an interesting new facet of gameplay, especially considering that they do not have a large number of consumables. This is true. Adding this consumable to the new branch of Commonwealth cruisers would diversify their gameplay, as well as enhance the sub-hunter role already inherited in them through enhanced ASW. Very good. More branches might receive this consumable, but our goal is not to provide this to all cruisers, similar to the distribution of surveillance radar or hydroacoustic search. We've also planned to change the mechanics of the hydrophone consumable. It's intended for a more defensive than offensive use, so we will limit its functionality to highlight ships only momentarily on the mini-map in a certain radius, similar to hydroacoustic search / surveillance radar. Visually, this consumable will work the same way as before. Additionally, the consumable will now be able to detect targets even through terrain. When submarines use it to highlight the ship above them and in their line of sight, that ship will appear as a silhouette only for a short period, about 6 seconds, and then disappear. Targets behind the terrain will be displayed as a short flash without a silhouette. This change removes the ability for submarines to closely track their targets and thus pulling off successful shotgunning interactions more difficult. It's making the shotgun more difficult is what they're saying. This should also make this consumable function closer to hydroacoustic search and surveillance radar, making it easier to grasp and understand. While taking into consideration the impact of the improvements for detecting subs and dealing damage to them, we plan to improve the turning circle radius of all submarines so that they have more opportunities to avoid detection by enemy ships, timely change of position, and better maneuvering among the islands. We will update some combat signals for submarines to reflect these changes. Among other changes, audio and visual submarine collision warnings will be added to the game for submarines, allowing submarines that have not detected each other to be aware of approaching one another at distances of less than 2 kilometers. Okay, so lots of changes coming in 13.1. I think it's great that these heavy cruisers are getting ASW aircraft. It's kind of unreasonable to expect a Hindenburg to go walk over to a submarine and drop his depth charges on them. I think it's very good that the Commonwealth cruisers, the Venezia branch and the Zalniota branch are getting the submarine surveillance consumable. It makes a lot of sense with the Commonwealth branch for sure, because that was kind of their thing anyway in their design, and that was definitely their thing in real life with having to escort the convoys from like Canada to Europe and such. So excellent change there. So good. There's more ways to detect submarines now. Every cruiser in the game now has usable ASW against these subs. So good. I'm liking what I'm reading so far. So let's see what the future updates hold. As another step in solving the shotgunning problem, we will test torpedoes with a gradual speed and damage increase over range. If the solution is effective enough and is a good fit for a game, some more submarine torpedoes may be rebalanced to be less dangerous in close proximity, but more powerful at longer range. The first one is dynamic torpedo speed. The torpedoes will be very slow when first launched until a certain range, for example the first 3 kilometers, and then their speed will gradually increase. This should give surface ships more opportunities to evade shotgun attacks. Dynamic torpedo damage. Similarly, the damage from the torpedoes will be very low within close proximity, and after traveling some distance, the potential damage will increase. And they say some submarine upgrades will be updated. Then they note, we're planning to update submarine commander skills, most likely in the first half of the year. Quite some time has passed since their introduction, which has allowed us to gather enough data and feedback to revamp them. There's quite a wide scope of changes, and we can't share an exact date yet as a result, but we will keep you updated. So, dynamic torpedo speed. Definitely, because when the sub does pop up, they already have a huge arming range, but obviously you're so close to the sub that the torpedoes, unless they're just walking, they're going to hit your ship. So this dynamic torpedo speed, it's a good idea, but they're going to have to be pretty friggin' slow out the gate, right? And the dynamic torpedo damage, that too, of course, will help. But I think, again, a big thing of this is just giving ships more ways to detect submarines, and maybe with the additional Hydra submarine surveillance consumable, and maybe if they would tweak hydroacoustic search a little bit, you wouldn't need to go with making the torpedoes gimped out of the gate. It takes a second for them to get their breath, and then they can go full speed and do their maximum damage. Because that's the main thing with shotgunning. If I know where the sub is at, I can avoid a shotgun attack pretty well. Obviously, even if I just have a hint of he's in this general area, I need to be on the watch out for him and on the lookout for him. But the thing is, that's very difficult to do with how stealthy the subs are in game already. But again, with these changes, may not have to deal with that too much anymore. But of course, everything helps, right? So the dynamic torpedo speed and the dynamic torpedo damage, I'm interested in that, and I'm really interested to see how they're going to balance that. Because again, when you sneak up on a battleship and shotgun them from even 3 kilometers away, unless it's in a battle cruiser or a Georgia or something, most battleships really can't get moving that fast. So again, there are gonna be some pretty slow torpedoes coming out of the tubes like that. But again, I'm interested and I want to hear more. So big kudos to Wargaming and big thumbs up to Wargaming for trying something and letting us know, keeping us in the loop about these changes. It's always wonderful when they take our feedback seriously and try something at least. So again, this is all stuff that's in testing. It's in the conceptual phase right now, but they are working on it, and some of these submarine changes, we're going to see an update 13.1, which is, again, big ups right there. But I think this is a massive step in the right direction. And again, we'll see where these changes go. Hopefully they go well. And, we'll hopefully be able to get some of the worst aspects about our wonderful pixel boat game fixed soon. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What do you think about the changes? What are you most excited for? What are you least excited for? What do you think they should do, of course, aside from just removing either class from the game or both classes from the game, because I know that's going to be in the comments a little bit down below. But yep, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Friday, wonderful weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.